To many Americans, these pictures would come from a really nice calendar or a big fancy book from a coffee table. To us, these are our images from our lives, our cameras, as we visited some of our national parks. As Franklin Roosevelt said, there's nothing so American as our national parks. The fundamental idea behind the parks is that the country belongs to the people. Years later, President Lyndon Johnson said, "If future generations are to remember us with gratitude rather than contempt, we must leave them something more than the miracles of technology. We must leave them a glimpse of the world as it was in the beginning." National parks are special, created by an act of Congress. There are now just over 60 of them. We've been to about half of those, and about 15 or so are really special to us, our national parks. Just days after our wedding, we saw our first national park as Mr. and Mrs. Smoky Mountain National Park. We've returned with our children, and we've done some camping there. And we've returned on motorcycles, because all around the area is some really great motorcycling. Perhaps because it's in the eastern part of our country, it is the #1 visited national park. But park #2 has its own classical music. When we moved to Arizona, we were 100 miles from the Grand Canyon, and every visitor we had visited the Grand Canyon too. We even took Gale's Campfire Girls to the bottom on mules. That's us in the rear. What a ride. After we moved to Kansas, we returned with our little girls. Perhaps this is their first visit to a national park. And we have returned a couple of times on motorcycles, both the south end and the less frequented north side. They are both spectacular. We entered Yosemite National Park from the east on a rented motorcycle over Tioga Pass and saw some of the most beautiful scenery that God ever created. The third most visited national park has eye-popping, jaw-dropping views at every turn. Yosemite Falls and Half Dome are just some of the natural icons there. Giant sequoia groves are part of Yosemite as well. Yosemite National Park. We've only been able to get there once so far. On the other hand, we've been to the fourth most popular park, Rocky Mountain, at least a dozen times, maybe more. Hi kids, here we are camping with the van Bluebell at Rocky Mountain National Park. And we took our teenagers, plus a handful more, for a church outing at Rocky Mountain. Here they are doing battle with their tent. And Colorado is for motorcycles. In fact, our very first multi-state tour happened here with Doug and Teresa. Years later, we visited Jim and Judy at their Loveland home about every other year. Here we are together on Old Fall River Road. That's the first road to travel inside Rocky Mountain. Now it's the road less traveled to the top of Trail Ridge. Trail Ridge Road is the main road across Rocky Mountain today, and because we've motorcycled it so often, we know every foot of it. Still out west, Zion is the fifth most popular park, distinguished by Zion Canyon's steep red cliffs. The Narrows is the narrowest section of Zion Canyon. This gorge, with walls 1,000 feet tall and the Virgin River sometimes 20 to 30 feet wide, means a hike through the Narrows requires hiking in that river. You're going to get your feet wet. If you're in Utah, there are 4 other national parks to visit. Bryce Canyon, although it's really an amphitheater, not a canyon, is known for crimson-colored hoodoos, which are spire-shaped rock formations. Bryce also has Arches, but if that's what you want, check out Arches National Park. This is the site of more than 2,000 natural sandstone arches. It also has great monolithic towers that puts you in the old Western movies. Canyonlands National Park has you looking down, not up, for its dramatic desert landscape carved by the Colorado River. Island in the Sky is a huge flat-topped mesa with panoramic overlooks. And finally, there's Capitol Reef. Even though still desert, Mormons used Fremont River to irrigate a small area, and orchards still exist there today. The Utah parks should be visited not in the summer, as the weather is capital H hot, which is what we always found in Mesa Verde as well. If it's cool enough, you can climb around the Cliff Palace, which dates back to at least 1285. After a series of severe and prolonged droughts, they abandoned the area, and I don't blame them. It's a lot cooler in Glacier Bay National Park. For the most part, the park is mostly visited by cruise ship, as we did when the whole family helped us celebrate our 50th anniversary. Glacier Bay National Park has over 1,000 tidewater and terrestrial glaciers in the park. That's where the glaciers are, not so much in Glacier National Park. When that park was established in 1910, the 150 glaciers carving out the high country amazed visitors and made its name an obvious choice. Today, less than 30 remain, but it's still a beautiful park, gorgeous in fact, and going to the Sun Highway is one of the top roads in the country. We've been there twice, once on a motorcycle, and earlier once with the girls, camping there again with Bluebell. Bluebell was a 70s painter wagon that we fixed up as best we could and loaded it up for family vacations, sleeping and camping in it. This particular 15-day trip was thousands of miles, several national parks, and on into Canada. The total cost was $600. I think the girls will always fondly remember Bluebell, even though we dumped her for a newer conversion van. That's what we took to Mount Rainier National Park. As we approached, it was cloudy, and we thought we're not going to see the mountain close up. But at the last moment, it cleared for a breathtaking hike on Washington's highest mountain. Yellowstone is our first national park, authorized in 1872. Teddy Roosevelt, christening this entrance arch in 1903, quotes the legislation for the benefit and enjoyment of the people. And over 4 million people enjoy Yellowstone every year now. Its natural beauty and wildlife are famous. The park, mostly in Wyoming, is centered over the Yellowstone Caldera, the largest supervolcano on the continent. Fortunately, the caldera is considered to be a dormant volcano, but half of the world's geysers and hydrothermal features are right there in Yellowstone. You've got your hot springs, geysers like Old Faithful here, mud pots, travertine terraces. Those are hot springs that rise up through limestone, dissolve the calcium carbonate, and deposit the calcite that makes the terraces. They look cool. We have been to Yellowstone 5 times, each visit a memorable one. Once we got everyone together, including our almost adopted daughter Jennifer, and another time in 1988 when we witnessed the historic Yellowstone fires that burned 1/3 of Yellowstone. The following year, Nancy volunteered for a summer of rebuilding with the Student Conservation Association. The park was dramatically changed for a long time. A stone's throw away from Yellowstone is Grand Teton National Park. Earthquakes gave rise to the 40-mile-long Teton Range, which sits on a fault line. They are the youngest range in the Rocky Mountains and some of the youngest mountains in the world. The highest peak, the Grand Teton, rises 13,770 feet above sea level. There are over 200 miles of hiking trails in the park, and we hiked all of them except for 198 miles for a picnic lunch. National Park Expose. The Black Canyon isn't really black. The Black Canyon of the Gunnison is a national park in western Colorado. It surrounds part of a deep, steep-walled gorge carved through Precambrian rock by the Gunnison River. The canyon's name, Black Canyon, owes itself to the fact that parts of the gorge only get about 33 minutes of sunlight a day. It looks black down there. We were with Jim and Judy and drove down the steep road to the bottom. It was open enough there for sunny, clear views. The Black Canyon of the Gunnison may be a misnomer, but it's beautiful. Another strange beauty is the Badlands National Park. We've been to the Black Hills umpteen times, and sometimes we ride through the Badlands. It's a moon-like environment, except most summer temperatures are very hot. The Theodore Roosevelt National Park is also mostly Badlands, but it's broken up by some wild horses and buffalo, as well as the Little Missouri River. It may seem odd that Teddy Roosevelt, a huge national park supporter, has this rather unassuming park named after him. This is where he actually did some ranching himself as a big-time failure. It's way out there in western North Dakota, so we have only been to Theodore Roosevelt National Park one time. We've also been to Olympic National Park but once, but we stay there for several days because it has several different ecosystems in the same park. Here, for example, is the beautiful and photogenic Pacific Beach area, along with some of my beautiful and photogenic family. Then the next day we hiked in an old-growth temperate rainforest. It is so northwest. And still in Olympic National Park, the next day, we viewed glacier-capped Olympic Mountains. We got several for the price of one in our unique visit to Olympic National Park. Also on the West Coast, we've had a solitary visit to Crater Lake National Park. Formed from a violent volcanic past, it's known to be the deepest lake in the United States, 1,932 feet. Its great depth and clarity gives the water its magnificent color. Speaking of unique visits, we had one shot to take the Skyline Drive in Shenandoah National Park. That's in Virginia. Then the clouds and the fog moved in. It seemed to be a beautiful drive, but pretty soon the fog dominated for about 100 miles the entire way. And that's our memory of Shenandoah National Park. This is Gail viewing the Great Sand Dunes National Park in southern Colorado. A sandbox of epic proportions, the entire dune field encompasses about 30 square miles. It's like going to the beach, minus the water. Redwood trees usually live to be between 500 and 800 years old. Some old-growth trees reach over 2,000. When we got to the Redwoods National Park, our teenagers were old enough to sleep in the tent by themselves. Mom was awake all night, as not far from our camp was a bear trap, and they caught one in the campground. I never thought I'd get to retire 20 miles from a national park. And in fact, I didn't at the time. Gateway Arch National Park was known as the Jefferson National Expansion Memorial until 2018. The arch dominates the Mississippi riverfront landscape and St. Louis. It's the most recognizable structure in the city, and at 630 feet, towers above the city. You can even see it from the ballpark. Kind of cool that I can ride my motorcycle to a national park anytime I want to. The view from the top is fantastic, especially the St. Louis side. That's the old courthouse where the Dred Scott case was argued. At 91 acres in downtown St. Louis, Gateway Arch National Park has been designated a national park for the benefit and enjoyment of the people.